Well, we usually do try to catch up here on this podcast, and a real simple catch up for me. It's kind of sports related. We talked a little bit about it last week. The Corunna Sports Hall of Fame was last Friday night, in between the girls' varsity game and the boys. I got to say this, I think this is the third class for the Corunna Sports Hall of Fame. They started out, the first one was a golf outing and a banquet. But what they did now, and I think they've really nailed it. They have it on a Friday night during the basketball season, which was cool. They had it at the high school cafeteria. They had really good food catered in by the school staff. And what was neat, guys, is a lot of these old timers came back and came back to town, and came back and seen the school. I think it was a really, really good setup.
It is cool. And, I know there's been back and forth about when to have it, because wasn't one of them during football season?
Yeah.
So they had, like a tailgate basically, and then they honored the inductees at halftime of a football game, which, that's cool, but you're risking your luck with the weather, with that.
Right.
I mean, especially in Michigan, really anywhere, but so that's a whole thing there. Football is cool, obviously, if it's a beautiful night, do it at halftime. But no, basketball is perfect because you don't have to worry about weather. Come watch a game. It's a doubleheader, so if you can watch the girls' game, then stay for the event, watch the boys' varsity game afterwards. It is a good opportunity for people to come back, because unless you are still in the area, especially if you're still in Corunna or Owasso area, you're probably not going back to the high school very often. You might go to a football game, like when Corunna last year was making a run in the playoffs. You might go do something like that, but like literally go into the high school,
right?
And maybe go look at the trophy cases, or just kind of walk around.
Well, along with that,
cool,
Matt, your efforts really paid off. People are really complimenting the rolling videos. It was an interactive experience. They could click on the screen. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean I forget who. I think it was Jeff Sawyer probably collected most of the photos.
Right.
It seemed like he was. A number of people did, and Sam Schuster. I know there was a lot of people involved in the organizing of it, but yeah, they provided a good amount of photos. I was curious, especially for the old timers. I knew like Noah Jacobs. I knew Norris Meredith would have a lot of photos, obviously, but I was like, some of those old timers, I'll be curious. So no, yeah, it was cool. I didn't do anything crazy, made a little photo video, but anyway, I think it looked like it was a cool event.
It really was, and I qualify as an old timer. What I thought was neat was, there was like John Wilcox got inducted, Dick Moffitt, Gordy Sayre, and there's representatives from the families, and then there was some of the old teachers and coaches showed up to support the Hall of Famers. So it was kind of neat for me to see guys, that taught me even in junior high. So it was a great experience. And I will say this, the way they set it up, having the get together for everybody, they can start showing up around 5:00. The girls game started at 5:30, the varsity game, but you got plenty of time to socialize and browse through the food and reminisce and get photo ops in front of the Cavalier banner. For our local school, I think they did a really good job.
Nice. So who are the next applicants banging on the door to get in for next year's? You're already on the next year's election, right?
Pretty soon. I don't think we've started anything on that yet. I know talking with your dad, there's a lot of people like knock on his door or buzz his phone and email saying, hey, so-and-so should be in it. So-and-so should be in it. Yeah, well, it's a process, but I think they did finish figuring out that you really don't have to have a limit like 5 or 6 people. You can have a decent sized class, and why leave anybody out? Get as many as you can in, since it's really fairly early on, only the 3rd class right now.
And I feel like one of the big things with that is obviously it'd be easy to just pinpoint, basketball players. Corunna's big in track, Corunna's big in wrestling. But if you really want to make it a legitimate athletics Hall of Fame, you got to go to swimming. You've got to go to volleyball. You've got to go to some of these sports, even if there was some soccer or something like that.
Without a doubt.
And it takes the historians like Ted, and there's some other people involved that. I mean, I grew up in Corunna, but I've since I haven't lived there for quite a while now. There's some people who truly know the history of Corunna sports, and so it's cool to get some of those people, some names I hadn't really ever heard of. Jared, I'm sure you have, since you've grown up in the area too. But no, and it's cool to some people, they throw out the stuff of like, oh, you're living in the glory days or something if you talk about your high school athletics or whatever. But like, it's one thing to like still be wearing your Letterman's jacket every day and telling everyone, sharing your high school tape all the time and, you know, bragging about that. That's completely separate. But on the side of like, if you get inducted into your high school athletics Hall of Fame, to go back, see some teachers, see some former coaches, have a night where you just reminisce and remember those days like that. I think that stuff is so cool. And it's something to be proud of. Even, you know, like Meredith Norris went on, you know, to play in college. Noah, you know, went on and he's still running in marathons and ran at Wisconsin. And, you know what, some of the other athletes, someone went to play at Michigan. And
Michigan
so,
State,
you know, people have gone on to bigger and better things, but it's still cool to go back to Corona, you know, where you came from. Those are your roots. So I think I'm glad that hopefully it's something that continues, because sometimes it seems like some of the stuff starts and then they've got to have people keep it going, you know, like, and that it's a lot of work. So, you know, kudos to everyone that put the work in.
And by the way, on our site here, you can download the Corona game. The Corona game, the boys game was Friday night against Goodrich. A couple of really good interviews by Casey with Noah and Meredith Norris. So just a little tip to you if you want to listen to a good interview during the game. Really nicely well done.
I think Jared's question was, he's wondering when his football team is going to get in. That's his question.
Oh, we're never getting in. I mean, we got the Hall of Fame czar over there. Didn't even have our list. Our team on the list of his top 20 Corona teams of all time in football. So as soon as I saw that list, I knew I was screwed. Here's a question stipulation. So what if somebody only accomplished a lot once they went past Corona? What if their life outside of Corona is amazing? For example, like Tony Annese, for example, probably doesn't get into the Hall of Fame on his own merit, but his coaching merit since high school is 100% deserved. So what's the rule on that?
I don't know if there is a real rule, but I would say I think nominations are open to the public. So, you know, if you want to nominate somebody like Tony, and you're right, his resume after high school, without a doubt, puts him in. So I don't know. You know,
I also realized, like, listening back to last week's pod, we maybe more so me, I revolve around maybe like 3 topics in my brain. Tony Annese, shorting the divisions in football in high school, and Michigan football. That's about it. So if we're not talking about one of those 3 things, pretty useless.
That's fair though to focus on Tony Annese. I mean, coming from Corona and arguably the best coach and, you know, overall coach in college football. I mean, about to play in another national championship game coming up. So
I think he would take his Corona Hall of Fame, but he's legitimately a Hall of Famer in college as a coach, you know, for sure.
Right.
You know, there's no doubt he'll be, if there's a Division II coaches Hall of Fame, he's definitely a first ballot once he's able to be in.
Oh yeah.
Is he the in the MHSAA Hall of Fame?
I believe he is.
Yeah.
I think so. Jared, do you know that for sure? I mean, that's got me now wondering. I know his dad for sure is.
Right. I would assume he is, but I mean, he didn't coach in high school like that long, did he? Because he went on to college, right?
Well, he won a couple state championships in Muskegon. He had Montrose really in the playoffs and high
I'm
up.
almost positive he's in the high school football coaches already.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. How about you guys? Anything going on with you before we move into some deep sports topics?
Well, we did the whole Santa thing. You know, I probably update you guys on this every year when we do this, but
I saw the photos.
It's always fun, and it's become, I guess, a thing. I don't know if it's our kids or you know what, but our Santa trips always become family photos because either one of them doesn't want to sit by Santa by him or herself. And this year is my son. My son went right up and he had it set in his mind. He had 2 things he wanted to tell Santa, and he did that. But then when we tried to sit him on his lap by himself, he was not having it. So, it turned into a family photo. My wife and I had to sit on the couch with Santa and do that. But no, it's always fun to do that.
Are those photos dying off a little bit? Did you notice when you were I saw a picture at a mall. Maybe it's because it's a mall. It was like a mall with this big Santa setup, and maybe it was fake, might have been staged. And Santa was just like sitting by himself on his like
smoking a cigarette,
I guess his chair. It was a little bit of a weird vibe, or still same old Santa Christmas is back type vibe.
This mall that we always go to, one of the nicer ones here in Charlotte, is always. I mean, one of my friends said they went and waited an hour and a half. So we always, and I made fun of her. I was like, "Why didn't you make a reservation?" We made a reservation and waited about 10 minutes. So No, it probably depends on which one you go to and maybe the time. Tuesday afternoon, maybe not that busy, but on the weekends.
Right.
But no, one thing I thought was crazy. My wife actually saw it, but it makes complete sense. These places that consistently malls or maybe, other probably places like in Frankfurt or, other places that have Santas year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
They try to hire the same Santa every year because, kids might look back on pictures or, they might kind of put things together. And this dude that so I went and looked back on pictures and he's been the same Santa for like the last 3 or 4 years. So it's just kind of crazy that, even a mall, they try and think about that kind of stuff. Obviously, probably it doesn't happen every year, every place, but
right.
It's just kind of crazy.
I don't know. You're right. It is a very actually kind of heartwarming, but my demented brain's like going to Santa, man, you've grown this year. Like that's right. Probably why I don't have kids. But
you will soon enough.
Right. I will say this Santa, I don't think he was too thrilled with how, let's just say, active my son is. he wasn't too happy. My son was wanting to climb all over him and get on the couch, and Santa didn't look too thrilled with that. So that's a good memory of this year.
Wesley's on the naughty list.
Yeah, he might be.
Well, this is episode 340 of the 3 Point Podcast presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Think about a gift card. You still have time for Christmas, maybe a stocking stuffer towards a membership, over 25 fitness classes, access to all the amenities. More info at memorialhealthcare.org and the socials at Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. And if you're a member already, why don't you sign up for the 8-week challenge? I think that starts at the first of the year. A great challenge, $15 to get in it, and some great prizes at the end, and get yourself in shape. Also want to thank our other partners. They include ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. And speaking of Memorial, geez, I wonder if any of the Lion players are over there trying to get rehab, man. We're going to talk about that right after this. All right, guys, I kind of teed it up. I mean, what on earth? The Lions, a shootout loss to Buffalo, but the big story. And, I think if we went back to the archives early in the season, remember we were talking about this team has everything, but they got to stay away from injuries. And I mentioned something about Jared Goff, and Jared said, don't say that. But who would have thought, though, that they would have been hit with this catastrophic injury bug at this point of the season? It's unreal.
It's every week. And it's not just, there's been a couple guys miss a game or two, week or two. They keep getting these season ending injuries. Mm-hmm. I mean, 3 guys after this game against Buffalo, key guys, McNeil, Davis could possibly be back in the NFC title game, but that's a long shot. And then Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, that was the whole thing with the offense. And that's what I hang on to. I've said it on the podcast multiple times. I've tweeted out, I've said it multiple times. They've been losing a lot of guys on defense, and it's starting to get dicey over there on the defensive side. But I stuck to, as long as the offense was fully healthy, no major injuries on offense, I felt pretty good about their chances because they could get in a shootout and maybe pull one out like they almost did against Buffalo. And then the Montgomery news happens, and I'm like, hey, man, I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but this completely changes the offense. I mean, Dan Orlovsky on one of the countdown shows today, he's doing one of the Monday night games. He said the Lions lose their closer because we've seen they split carries between Gibbs and Monty, and a lot of times at the end of the game when they need to close a game out, Monty comes in and he's carrying the ball, and they lose that. So Gibbs is dynamic. Gibbs is awesome, and we all love him. But I'll be curious to see him as the number one every down, every carry back. Not saying he can't do it, but
it's time for him to put the big boy pants on now because it's his deal.
Yeah, so I mean, it gets to a point I don't know what they're going to do on defense. I mean, you can only lose so many guys.
No, and I love the next man up. I love that mantra as much as the next guy. We're dead. We're dead. I mean, think about what happened yesterday. If you actually sit and think about it, Jared Goff. From 5 weeks ago, we had a game where he threw 5 picks and we won on the road. To now, 10 injuries later, he plays literally a perfect game.
500 yards.
500 yards. and we still really weren't even close. It was a bit of a breath of not fresh air, whatever the opposite of that would be, sewer water, taking a breath of that. This sucks, man. And we can't be all boo-hoo because this happens to a team every year. We were laughing at the Eagles last year. Remember that? We were rounding into shape at the end of the year. Eagles were basically just like us this year, and then they totally fell off due to injury. It's why we love football. It's why we love the NFL, the violence. But my God, this is like lightning striking 20 times in a row. It's every player on the defense. I mean, and I was okay with it up until yesterday. When freaking Carlton Davis is going down a week after we're singing his praises, when McNeil goes down just after coming back from injury, and then all of a sudden Montgomery out of nowhere the very next day, it's literally like this team is cursed. Doesn't it feel like a curse? This is unlike anything I've ever seen on any team ever. And it's arguably the most frustrating way to lose. We're never going to know what the true potential of this squad was this year. We're going to end up losing to some team that we're probably going to feel like we're a lot better squad than them. And we were the best team in the NFL if we're fully healthy. Now we're like, what would you guys put a percentage at making the Super Bowl now? I saw Mike Valenti said like 10%. I think that's about right. At best, we're 50% chance to make the Super Bowl. We've lost what made our team different from years past. We're the same as last year almost now, where we have no defense, even worse defense than last year. And it really takes the wind out of your sails.
It does.
Are you guys really see any hope going forward?
I have to have some hope. It was a kick in the nuts. My stomach hurts from seeing everything that happened. But and the big but is, I mean, they still are in the driver's seat if you want to put it that way, but it's going to be tough. You know, it would be nice if the Lions get a little help and also get the bye. But I do agree that, you know, how much more can you take? You know, I don't want to slide into the same old Lions or curse type of thing. I don't want to go there because even if they don't make it this year, they still are ready for another couple years after this, I think, with the core they have. So it's not all doom and gloom if they don't make it, but
look at what you're already on to next year. That's the killer. This is a Super Bowl winning team with the pieces right. And that's the shame of it is I'm with you. I'm already I shouldn't be, but I'm already looking forward to next year. It's like, let's wait till we get all these guys back.
That's a tough one.
I mean, we said it kind of after that NFC title game last year when it felt like they let that one slip away, that they should have beat the 49ers. And I mean, I know I said it for sure. I think we all kind of agreed or said the same thing, that even though they had some bumps in the road last year, they had a couple injuries here and there and stuff, but like for the most part, everything went pretty well for them last year. Obviously nothing like this. And even Dan Campbell, after the NFC title game last year, he said something along the lines of like, you know, you never know if you're going to be back here again. And, you know, when he said that, it felt like, you know, he's just being honest, you know, he's just being Dan Campbell, genuine. He's just shooting them straight type of thing. But now you look back on that quote and it's like, yeah, I mean, he's being honest because you never know in the NFL what is going to happen. Hutch goes down early in the season, you know, the heartbeat of that defense. And that felt like a kick in the nuts, like you said, Ted. But it was like, you know what? That's a huge loss. But it was like, they can get past this. The offense is still good. And, you know, they can figure some stuff out on defense. You know, they can get past this one. Next guy goes down. And Anzalone breaks his arm, freakish accident. Aleem McNeil just going after the quarterback, jumps up and pops his knee. And Carlton Davis breaks his jaw. Like what is happening with these injuries? It's just all these freak injuries. And then the Dorsey one yesterday, again, just going across the middle, his leg hits another dude, breaks his leg in half. So it's just like, it does make you wonder, like, did the football gods not want the Lions to win? Like, what is going on here? This is just so crazy because honestly, fully strength, even without Hutch, I think they almost walked to the Super Bowl. It was like, I think in the NFC, because there's no Mahomes, there's no Josh Allen, like we just saw. There's no Burrow. I mean, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but there's no Lamar Jackson. All those dudes are over in the AFC. You know, the NFC was starting to look like they should win this almost with ease, especially if they had home field advantage. So the silver lining is they are technically still the number one seed. You know, they have 3 games left still, obviously. Win out and you're the number one seed. You get a week off. You get home field advantage. So hopefully Anzalone comes back and a couple other guys come back and you can just win every game 47-38 or something like that. But it's tough because the other side of it too, you can add guys, you can sign dudes, you can go to practice squads, you can, there's guys out there available to play, but do they know the defense? Like are they in shape? Are they ready to play? Yeah, of course you're going to have guys to fill the roster out, but who are these dudes you're just throwing out there? They have no idea what's going on.
I made a list of them, and I noticed it from the Green Bay game I was at in person. That was like one of those things I was like, dude, am I like, it's maybe just because I'm in the stadium and I'm not watching on TV. Like I just am not picking up the names and the numbers. But I went there and like looked at some of the guys in the box score. Who the hell are these guys?
Like
number 47, Ezekiel Turner. Number 51, Ben Newman, apparently from the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 29, Vildor. We know him well. We thought we were never going to see him again, but he's back.
David has to play.
Number 43. Number 95, Pat O'Connor. Number 69, Muhammad. I don't even know what his last name or his first name was, but he's wearing number 69.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. These are literally creative players. These are year 7 of your online dynasty, and you run out of players to name. So it's just generic names with random numbers that make no sense. We can get over, and that was what was funny to me is like you flip on 97-1, people are still bitching about the onside kick call. What do you want? What did you want Dan Campbell to do? First off, did either of you guys have a problem with that onside kick?
I don't have a problem with it. I probably wouldn't have done it at that time, being down 10. Well, a little bit. It certainly backfired, but when you think about it in the NFL, you're just 100% telling your team you don't believe in the defense. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Did you see those names I just listed off?
I know, but look how close it came at the end. They fought back.
But was it that like it felt like the Bills never even broke a sweat? It was like 20 plays in a row where we had a chance. If we can get a stop here, we can put some pressure on them.
I will say
never could get a stop.
I will say this. I don't have a huge problem with the onside. I wouldn't have done it, but I have more of a problem with the frickin' onside kick rule and the whole kickoff thing. That's bullshit. The whole point of an onside kick is by surprise. My God, one of the best onside kicks ever was in the Super Bowl to start a second half. They got to get rid of that rule, man. It's dumb.
Yeah, that's one of my bigger issues. It's one of those, like all of his fourth down calls, Dan Campbell, it's always, if it doesn't convert, then you're going to rip him. If they get that, it's the ballsiest call ever, and it's given it, whatever. I saw people saying basically right now with those new ridiculous rules where you have to tell the other team, hey, we're going to onside kick it. Here it comes. It's basically a 7% chance that you're going to recover. So obviously very, very low. You're hoping that you're part of that 7% chance. Also, you are not expecting their dude over there to pick the ball up and run it down to the 3-yard line. You're hoping if you don't get it, they're at the 50-yard line. Maybe you can hold them to a field goal. So that was just the complete, everything went wrong with that. I understand he's getting criticism for it, but no, I think he, like he said in the press conference, he was trying to steal a possession. He was looking over there like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're not stopping this dude. we got to try and figure something out, and it didn't work out. So no, I think it's one of those things where next man up, like you said, Jared, but I wonder about the morale in the locker room. Like you got these dudes coming in, like, yeah, they're NFL players. So it's like, all right, man, suit up. We got to go out there and play. But I wonder if they're starting to even be like, what the hell are we going to do? Like, I bet Aaron
it's literally it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Who's next? It's like, that's what you're thinking in that locker room.
Yeah. It's definitely got to be demoralizing for sure. And not to be a Debbie Downer either. When we think about it, looking ahead to next year already, well, they had their chance last year. And if they don't do it this year, and then next year, very likely going to be without their offensive and defensive coordinator as well. That window's closing pretty quickly.
And
they're going to have to start paying guys. They're not going to be able to have all these dudes. Frank Ragnow he's going to retire soon. Taylor Decker, he's been getting hurt a lot.
So they're going to be retiring soon.
Right. They're going to have to figure out something over there. So the offensive line is going to be different. At some point, you're not going to be able to pay JMO and, Laporta and Gibbs. I mean, at some point, some of these dudes are going to leave. And so that's where last year, it was almost like when Michigan went to the college football playoff against Georgia. It was like, all right, that was cool, but yeah, we weren't quite there yet. They had to get back and, then figure it out. And it almost felt like maybe last year the 49ers were Georgia, and this was our year. If this was our year, if we could have just stayed healthy, and I kept thinking too, like, the defense, as long as we've talked a lot about Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, and I love those dudes. They're great. And I was like, as long as those guys are healthy, maybe they can force a couple turnovers. Josh Allen has always been turnover prone, but I looked it up because I started thinking, like, they haven't had interceptions lately. Brian Branch hasn't had an interception since week 5, and Kirby Joseph hasn't had an interception since week 11. Mm-hmm. So even, I don't know if it says something about their play, if teams are kind of figuring out how to throw away from them or something, but it's kind of Aaron Glenn is almost probably like, I don't even know what to do.
The pass rush is so, and it was bad. It was solid with Hutch. It definitely was, and it was very vastly improved this year. But even last year, that was our complaint with Hutchinson. Like, man, we got to get a better pass rush. Now, God forbid, he's out. Zadarius Smith, we thought he was going to solve everything. He didn't. And now it's so many. Now our secondary, which was probably the strength of the defense once Hutch went out, now they're all banged up. It's just, I can't fathom. And here's the one ray of positivity, I would say. I'm not scared of the Vikings. I'm not scared of the Packers. I'm not scared of the Falcons. I'm not scared of the Buccaneers. I'm literally the only team I'm scared of in our conference is the Eagles. Mm-hmm. And if we get them at home, I'll take my chances. Yeah, we might have to score 50 points, but we could do it. I don't think it's that crazy. The Bills are an impossible matchup for us. Josh Allen, ever since he's been in the league, has ripped us apart every time we play him. And how they were, they were like Tony Romo was saying it all game. I mean, Joe Brady was calling a hell of a game, probably the best game any coordinator had all year. It was like a masterclass in just picking apart a team's weakness. We couldn't cover the running back out of the backfield. He had like 100+ yards receiving, Johnson. And it just felt like Josh Allen was operating on a whole nother level with these tight ends and running backs. He's the best player in the league right now. I mean, would you guys argue that? So
pretty hard to.
It's just, although we're overreacting, and I think it's fair because the injuries are too much. It's way too much. This team is a shell of what it once was. But can they put it together for 3-4 weeks to just get to that Super Bowl? Maybe. If we can get that by, I'm not canceling the season yet. But if we lose this week or we lose 2 of the next 3 weeks at the end of the season, I might fade the Lions come playoff time. Bad.
Well, even if the Vikings keep winning, if the Lions can beat the Bears and 49ers, man, I think the Lions against the Vikings at home with everything on the line and that home field on the line,
crazy.
I wouldn't count them out.
No,
right. Well, and that's even with Montgomery out.
Right.
I mean, we're crossing our fingers that there's no other injuries, but even with Montgomery out, the offense is still going to be really good. So, they're going to be able to score points with anyone. You just got to hope that the defense can just figure something out. Like you can't give up 48 points and expect to win.
Well, and that was like Carlton Davis going down second drive of the game. It's like we're fucked.
Yeah,
right.
we're done. And then what's his name? Who was the other defensive back that got hurt right after it?
Dorsey.
Yeah, Dorsey. Like, we can't cover these guys man to man. That was our whole game plan. Now we definitely can't.
Yeah.
So I think Aaron Glenn will come up with a plan that'll make us a little bit better, but there's just no way to fix that. Basically 10 starters out. It's unbelievable.
Right. I've never seen it before in my whole life of any team with the talent the Lions have,
right,
to have that many crucial injuries. I mean, it's just not fair. It's just not fair.
I mean, because really everyone probably 2 weeks ago was starting to pick the Lions. Vegas was picking the Lions. Everyone was saying, no, this is the Lions' year. Look at this team. And it's hard to do that now, with mainly because of the injuries. Did you guys see, if we're about to move on from the Lions, did you guys see probably the worst bad beat ever with David Montgomery's? I don't know if you saw that, Ted. So I just saw someone tweet this out. It might be one of the worst bad beats ever. So on FanDuel, his season rushing yards total was set at, let me get it right. It was 725 and a half. It was set at, let me scroll back here. I should have wrote this down. It was set at 775 and a half.
Okay.
775 and a half before, the season started. So it was, you bet the over or under? You think he's going to go over? He's going to go under. He obviously, announced he had knee surgery done for the year. He finished the year with 775 yards.
Jeez, go back to the film.
I mean, like,
Yeah, I
how
wonder
is that even? How did that even happen? For all the people that bet the over, they're staring at that, going, "Please, NFL, go back and fix one of his stats and give him one more." Like that. That's the kind of stuff right there. I mean, I casually, I'll bet a little bit here and there, but that's the kind of stuff right there. That's like, it's not worth it, man. That's because I would have been the one that bet the over, and I'm looking at.
Oh, and those people. And the worst part is, those people have been having like cashed that out in their brain like a month ago when he was. I mean, he's going to obliterate that by like 250 yards. Yeah, it's a killer. I saw that as well right before we recorded. That's an all-time bad beat. No other way to put it, really.
Yeah.
Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed that they can beat the Bears in Chicago. Hopefully the weather won't be a major factor. And I know we've talked about it before. Jared Goff is not usually the greatest quarterback in weather conditions, even though he did play well at Green Bay. But there's always that chance he won't. And if he doesn't play well, and we know the defense is going to struggle probably, you lose that game to the Bears, then my stomach ache stays for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Next weekend, we're getting together with some friends and doing like a Christmas thing, making Christmas cookies, doing all that kind of stuff. And my wife asked, like, what time do you want to go over to their house? Because I know, the Lions game and stuff. And I was like, honestly, just schedule it. I'll turn the game on, whatever. Like, it was after all the news of the injuries. I was like, I was so deflated. I was like, whatever. I mean, I'm gonna watch, but.
Yeah. Well, let's move to a happier topic in football.
Yeah, right.
We'll go to college football. And, Jared talked a little bit about our man, Tony Annese. Ferris State won the semifinals. They were the D2 Natty for the fourth time in Tony's career there, beating Slippery Rock 48-38. Bulldogs pitched a shutout in the second half. I didn't watch it, but I had it on the radio for the last quarter. I was kind of keeping track on Twitter. And then I listened to it. Man, it was a heck of a turnaround that second half. Slippery Rock came out ready to play.
Yeah, Slippery Rock is. I always think of them with. I don't know what the hell, Matt. Do you know what's the deal with? Why are they obsessed with the University of Michigan?
Oh, forever! I can tell you, forever and ever. I used to go to games in the 70s, and at halftime, they'd give a score. They'd give Slippery Rock score, and the crowd would just go nuts. Yeah, it was just kind of a traditional thing. I don't know why specifically. I think it was kind of making fun of Slippery Rock.
I always wonder what they were, and it's funny that they're D2 to the school. Actually, a pretty solid. They had some good wide receivers. I watched some of that game as well. And Ferris just, they're inevitable, man. They're gonna find a way to win. I mean, I thought about the guy last week. I didn't realize he was a Forest Hills Northern grad, Trinidad Chambly, their quarterback. Good. Yeah, a lot of their studs are Michigan guys. Like I know. You probably called some of the guys' games. Connor Neer, linebacker for them.
For sure, out of St. John's. Yeah, he was a stud at St. John's.
That's the cool part about them is it's a lot of Michigan kids getting it done at the next level. So, I can't wait to watch their game. Is it a Friday night game or when do they play?
No, it's Saturday. I think 2 or 2:30 Saturday.
Perfect.
Probably on ESPN. One of the
it's gonna
ESPN
be a loaded
networks.
Saturday, man. We got that. We got the college football playoff on Saturday as well. It's a day full of games.
Yeah, and I hate to remind you that our family party is Saturday. We're going to miss out on a lot of good games. I can't DVR them all.
Gonna have to watch them on the phone or something.
Yeah, but anyway, congrats.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to look it up real quick because I thought it was just that they always announce the Slippery Rock score at the Michigan games,
right?
So that is part of it. But I guess that started in '59. The PA announcer started doing it and made a big deal about it. But there's a couple former coaches that coached at Michigan and then went over to Slippery Rock, they were with Bo Schembechler and Harbaugh, so there's some of those connections, but it is the PA announcer thing is kind of what solidified it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember being at games where hearing the scores. Also on Saturday, we've talked about it before. Like a bucket list college game to go to is Army Navy, another good Army Navy game. Navy came to play that day and beat Army 31-13. Blake Horvath threw for a couple touchdowns, ran for a couple TDs. It's always a great atmosphere watching Army Navy. And, I thought CBS did a good job too with their crew with Danielson and Nessler.
Oh yeah. They always knock that out of the park.
Yeah.
It's always cool too that's the only game going on in D1 anyway.
It's one of the great traditions. It really is. I hope they never change it. And I always love how it leads into the Heisman ceremony. Did you guys have a problem with Travis? I didn't realize it's been so contentious all year. I don't know what the obsession is with Ashton Genty. He is amazing, and I definitely wouldn't have been mad if Genty would have won the Heisman. To me, I thought Hunter was something we haven't seen before. A true two-way player who had 1,000 yards receiving, and also I think had 5 interceptions on defense, played pretty well on defense as well. I thought he was deserving of it. My one thing that made no sense to me, which is this is the definition of media hype. How does Travis Hunter, with barely eclipsing 1,000 receiving yards, win the Biletnikoff?
Right.
Now that I'm honestly more upset about that than the Heisman. The Heisman makes sense. Oh, he was great both sides of the ball. The Biletnikoff is just his receiver abilities.
Who should have won it? What name would you throw out there?
Oh, I know San Jose State's receiver had won the Triple Crown for receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and catches. I know Jeremiah Smith was freaking incredible. Ryan Williams I thought was damn good. I didn't even think he was the best receiver on his own damn squad. You watch Colorado, they've got like 3 stud wide receivers. He almost blends in. He's like the third option. So it just made no sense, man.
No, I'm definitely with you on that one. The Biletnikoff didn't make sense because even not that I watched start to finish Colorado games, but I would tune in here and there because it's Colorado, Deion, kind of some big names, Shedeur. And you could tell Shedeur was trying to force feed Hunter. He like you said, he wasn't the best receiver, athlete overall, yes, for sure, but he wasn't the best receiver on their team. But they were trying to pat his stats a lot of times. But the thing with the Heisman that I feel like it has kind of been lost, it's not the MVP. It's not, it's the most outstanding player in college football. And that's where I think it's valid for him to win that award. Because, Genty, amazing stats, running back, all of that. But Boise State was playing basically nothing. And I mean, he was 2,400 rush yards is insane. But it was like, dude, you were playing no one and you played like 14 games. So, comparing him to what Barry Sanders did, I don't think was really, a fair comparison. Same with Travis Hunter. Everyone's putting him side by side with Charles Woodson. And it's like, no, that's not the same thing because Woodson played a little bit of receiver, but he didn't play that much receiver. And really, he has a couple of, iconic punt returns, like the one against Ohio State, but he wasn't even that team's full-time punt returner. He really was a primary defensive player who then did come in for a pass here and there, return a punt here and there. So comparing Travis Hunter to Charles Woodson, it's not even like really a fair comparison in that sense either. So I think people were sick of the whole Deion and Colorado hype is I think where a lot of that hate came from.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't understand. I mean, I was the one before the year saying like this program's a sham. They suck. They're doing it wrong. You made me eat it, dude. I thought they had a pretty damn good year. I
almost made the playoff.
9 games, really were on the brink of the playoff. They controlled their own destiny at one point and blew it. But I now a lot of that. I think Shedeur is a stud. Like he's going to be number 1 overall pick in the draft. I think so. We'll see what happens next year when he's not just relying on his son, who's this superstar quarterback. But it really seemed like a program that's in the right direction. That seems to be doing it the right way. Like I like Travis Hunter. I remember last year the only thing I really needed to know about him when they played Colorado State, that big old dirty game. It was almost like a fight was breaking out in between every snap. And Travis Hunter had arguably a dirty hit to him by I think the kid's name was Blackshear.
Right. Yeah,
I remember that.
Everyone was like ripping this Blackshear kid, like literally sending death threats to him. And Travis Hunter, like a few days later, had him on like his, streaming when they were playing like, I don't know, Madden or something like that. And so like, my friend, like, it's all right. Like we were just playing football. That's all you need to see about who Travis Hunter is. I like him a lot. One thing that was cracking me up about the Heisman thing is they all took these photos a day or two before. And apparently it said in the pamphlet, like, we encourage you to wear your team gear. And it was like the most perfect like PR move for Ashton Genty to show up in bright orange Boise State gear. Everybody else is in like designer sweaters and stuff. I would have liked to have seen the actual fine print of that. Like, did it really say in bold, wear your team gear? Or is it just like a small little quote at the very end that like he made those guys look like idiots? He really did by showing up in Boise gear. But I loved it. But it just I thought it was funny how kind of bad it made them look just because he wore his team gear.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I want to move on off of the Heisman to, is the NCAA football organizers like the stupidest thing ever with this transfer portal thing? I mean, what do you guys think of that? I mean, I get the transfer portal. I understand it, but how can you let this go on before national championship playoff games that players are coming out and saying they're transferring? I mean, it's just bad look, isn't it?
It's definitely a mess. And I mean, because there's been a lot of players obviously transferring when their team is still going to play in a bowl game, which, that's a whole other discussion, just how far the importance of bowl games has fallen off. But you've got guys transferring who their team's in the college football playoff. Right. I mean, your team is playing in, going for a national title, and you're entering the transfer portal. And I mean, the big issue is, and Penn State's backup quarterback is one of them that transferred, and Penn State's in the college football playoff. And this kid actually gets a lot of snaps. He plays a decent amount, and now he's out. They have a transfer portal window now, and it's going to close pretty soon. And then there's another transfer portal window in April. So these are still technically student athletes. If they're going to go to another school, they have to enroll at that school and be accepted academically into that school. So if you're going to do that, like right now that this fall semester is ending. So if you're going to transfer to that new school and hopefully get there, by January, so you can start spring practice and all of that, you have to enroll in the school. So that's where the kid from Penn State, that's what he said in his statement. He's like, listen, I had already kind of made my mind up that after the season I was going to transfer. But like, I can't wait till April to make my decision, because then I'm setting myself, way back. I'm going to be 5 months behind every other quarterback, at that new school I'm going to, because, it's the academic side of it. And that's where it's all messed up. I mean, I don't know how they fix it, because it's fair. If you're a quarterback, if you're a player that wants to transfer to a new school, yeah, you want to get there right now. Like Bryce Underwood, he's an early enrollee, coming from high school. He's already at Michigan, basically. You want to get in there as soon as possible. So,
yeah,
that's where
it's a mess. I mean, the one that just caught me, even though it's just a regular bowl game, seeing Marshall's coach leave after winning the championship game.
I think he got fired, I thought.
Yeah, fired.
Did he? Oh, he got Marshall's head coach got fired?
That's why they all like, we're all right, we're out. We're not.
Oh, I missed that part. Then I saw 25 players enter the transfer portal.
It made
they had to opt out of their bowl game because they didn't have any players.
I know. Unbelievable.
The whole transfer portal thing makes no sense. To me, I think both sides are wrong. One, why are we still playing college football in January 10th? Can we figure? You have freaking 6 months to play this damn season. You don't have to overlap it that much. Like, let's just shift everything up a few weeks, or let's stop the whole fake facade that these are college students. I mean, they are, but who are we kidding, man? They're making $500,000 through this transfer portal. Just wait on the portal, open it up once the entire playoff is over in January. It's a stupid problem. Right. And it's the problems that arise when you're a professional sports league operating in college requirements. There's no good way to do it. It's stupid. I feel bad with the Penn State kid. I mean, he's honestly was somewhat of a contributor to their squad, and now he's just like, well, hopefully you guys don't go win the championship, and I miss out on that. It's just a bad situation all around.
It is. It's a bad look for sure. And I think your comment about not opening it up until after the championship game, why can't they just have a special waiver for college football players, that they can enroll later, catch up on the classes, whatever.
They definitely could. I mean, that's a thing where, people would cry about a double standard, and it's like, listen, there's already a double standard. These kids are already getting special treatment. So if you're going to let them start class 2 weeks into the semester, like, are you really going to be that mad about it? I honestly think, like, there was a bowl, Western Michigan played in their bowl game, I think on Saturday. And I was like, man, if I wasn't playing in the college football playoff, I would want my bowl to be as early as possible so I can just practice for one more week, get the season over with, and move on. And I was just like, that's what they should do. If you want to, kind of play out the college football playoff, okay, and, I understand that. There's TV involved and all that. But all these other bowls, just have them within the next 2 weeks of the season. Like, maybe give them a week off and then do a full weekend of bowl games. Friday, Saturday, bowl games. The next weekend, Friday, Saturday. Get all these other stupid bowl. The ReliaQuest Bowl that Michigan's playing in. Like, do we really need that to be on New Year's Eve? Like, I mean, or yeah, that's New Year's Eve. Do we?
At noon. Yeah.
Is that really necessary? Just get them all out of the way. Get them all out of the way. Put all the focus on the college football playoff. Then all these kids can transfer. They can play in their bowl game and then bounce, and then they can be done. But
what's funny is, like, I mean, we're feeling it right now. I mean, you're almost like thankful you're not still playing, because we saw it. We got screwed, man. You're the best team. Oh, congrats on winning the title. You can't hit the portal. And those 30 guys that are all NFL players you have, yeah, you're not replenishing any of them. They're all leaving. Yep. Nothing's filling their shoes. And now we're seeing it on the other side of the fence, where it's like, we are full bore. We like already got our roster built for next year. Like we're building. Whereas these other programs that are better than us, that deserve that advantage, are getting screwed. Once the SEC is getting screwed, things will get solved. I think it's only a matter of time before it gets figured out.
That's exactly. I mean, there's probably a number of other things that came into play, but that's exactly what happened to Michigan last year with the quarterback situation. I mean, people want to get mad at Harbaugh or JJ McCarthy for not announcing what they wanted to do until after the season. But do you really think that they were going to say that Harbaugh in the middle of a playoff was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the NFL when he still has a national? Do you think JJ McCarthy is going to announce, hey, I'm still playing for the national title, but I am going to go to the NFL? Because by the time the national title was over, all of these transfer portal quarterbacks, they'd already chosen schools. So Michigan, yes, there was probably a couple other things going on, but there was no one left for Michigan to get in the transfer portal because those kids had already transferred. So, it's a completely messed up system, and it's good for these players. I think we all kind of agree it's good for these players to have the option. But when you got dudes transferring every year, it looks very disingenuous when they tweet out that statement like, oh, I love my players, love my coach. Thank you to this coach for doing everything. I love this university and everything. And it's like, you were only there for 1 year, and I guarantee you never went to class.
Well,
and now you're transferring somewhere else. Like, what are we doing?
The best tweet of the day I saw. I don't even know who the player was. He's like wearing a Penn State jersey. I think it's Penn State, and he's got a Georgia Bulldog. Like he's flexing in like a recruitment visit, Penn State jersey, and he's flexing his arm. He's got a Georgia G on his bicep.
And then I think he's committing to like USC.
USC logo.
Right.
It's like that's what it is. I got one. It's a little bit of a left turn. Actually, real quick, and then I'll come back to it. It's a bit of a problem I have with a different league. What are your guys' predictions for the playoff? I mean, it's going to be awesome to watch. Friday night starts with Notre Dame, Indiana. From there, we got 3 great games the next day.
Yeah.
My only strong feelings on this opening round, I think Notre Dame versus Indiana is going to be an awesome game. Like I could see snow falling. That's college football at its purest. I honestly don't care who wins that game. I think it's a win-win. I like both teams. I like both programs. So I'm just going to get the popcorn ready for Friday night to watch that one.
Me too.
I'll be honest. I'm fading Ohio State. I'm fading Penn State. I think both those programs are broken right now. And I just saw today Ryan Day is still getting backlash from the Michigan Ohio State. He said something like, it's look at us, we're still in the playoff. Like right. I'm not taking anything away from the game. I mean, people spewed his words, but still didn't sound great. Anytime he addresses Michigan, the Michigan game, it doesn't sound good. So I'm just the way I'm at. I think that was such an emotional loss that Ohio State had to Michigan. I think they're still going to feel it versus Tennessee in that night game at home. And then Penn State, I just don't think Penn State's very good. And nobody's giving SMU credit. Nobody's giving Boise State credit. If SMU doesn't knock Penn State off, I think it's going to be Boise in round 2. Those are my 2 big things. I'm fading both those squads. And then Notre Dame, Indiana, just get ready for the popcorn. What do you guys think opening weekend?
I think that home field in Happy Valley could really help Penn State, because I saw a picture of someone, it was covered in snow today. So, I mean, they'll probably have it cleaned up, but, so they might have some home field advantage, obviously. But no, that Ohio State-Tennessee game is going to be fun because I'm with you. Ohio State should probably win that game. But I think the emotional letdown of getting beat by Michigan, I'm curious to see how they come out and play because Tennessee's good. Tennessee's a good team. And if they come out, trying to prove that they didn't care about the Michigan game or, like whatever, who cares about losing to Michigan? Tennessee might blow their doors off. But no, the Indiana Notre Dame game, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm still going with Ohio State and Penn State. I think if Ohio State gets behind early, then maybe a different story. But I think they've practiced enough. It's been a couple weeks at least.
Right.
And they know that they can redeem their season, even though they lost to Michigan. That hurts as bad as anything. They can resurrect things with a national championship, and they got the talent to do it.
Yep.
But it's going to be fun. I wish
it is fun. Yep.
I wish we didn't have our party on Saturday, but that's the way
What's
it goes.
The over under on the amount of times you're going to make that comment? Like, man,
on Saturday?
No spoilers. I got my DVR.
No.
All right, fair.
It's one of those days where I'll keep track of what's going on in the games. There'll be TV.
Why don't you view the glass half full? You get to be around your whole family watching football all day, man. I mean,
that's a better take. That's a better take for sure.
I was going to say, hey, glass half full here, because I was going to say, like, it's going to be on, right? And even if it's kind of in the background or whatever, but
yeah. It's just my sports guy frustration, guys.
Right.
Family comes first.
You'd rather be sitting right there in your man cave, in front of the flat screen.
No, I didn't say that.
Here's one other thing I got for you guys. And I'll save the rest maybe for next week. I got a couple other topics, but there's one I definitely want to hit because I even want to talk about it last week. Juan Soto to the Mets.
Yes.
Can we fix baseball? What is the sport that you built? Where it's essentially three teams competing for the World Series year after year. Now we're basically the Tigers. Detroit is like a small market team. What is the deal? No salary cap, no luxury tax. It's just whoever has the most money is going to win a title. I can't stand it.
I'm glad you brought it up. I had it in my notes from last week too, Jared. I mean, think about this: $750 million to play baseball. I mean, that's unreal.
Here's what cracks me up. They're not going to win another baseball game because of him. These baseball stars crack me up. They're drops of water in the ocean. It's like I can't wait to watch them in the biggest stage in the World Series. Oh, Judge hasn't gotten a hit in years. Right. Ohtani's hurt. What is the sport? What is the sport? I love it. I finally got into it, and we have a decent team here in Detroit. And we feel like we have no chance to really get any generational players. It's like, they're either going to play for the Mets. I'm at least thankful the Mets are now competing. It's either going to play for the Dodgers or the Yankees, and that's about it. Maybe the Red Sox get in there. How is this a real league? Am I crazy?
It is crazy because it kind of pushes aside the small market teams, and you wouldn't think that Detroit would be considered a small market team, but they kind of are. But yeah, like, teams like Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, some of these other that are actual like small market teams, you just got to hope you get lucky. I mean, that's happened with Tampa Bay a couple times. They've kind of put things together. I mean, kind of happened with the Tigers this year. You kind of get hot and you have a couple pitchers throwing well, you have a couple bats, and you just got to hope you get lucky because, a dude like Soto, when they started talking about the amount of money he was going to get, it was like Tigers are never going to get a player like that. Shohei Ohtani, the Tigers are never going to pay after what they paid Miggy, and that they're still paying Miggy. That was like probably one of the last times we're going to see them shell out almost $300 million for a player, which I'm curious what they're going to do with Tarek Skubal, who just won the Cy Young, because he might be asking for that amount of money. And so we'll see. We'll see what Illich and, Harris and all them do. But they've been reluctant to pay big bucks. Yeah, they gave Baez that money, but it wasn't $750 million.
The only redeeming factor we have is that big bucks doesn't always mean a championship. I mean, hell, the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla $1 million a year. I mean, and when's the last time they won a World Series? It was like 86.
No, but isn't it just like a fairness thing? Like, it doesn't even. It's like you got the Oakland A's pay. Like, apparently we have one, like, Baez's contract is worth more than the Oakland A's entire salary. It's like, how is this even a real functioning professional sports league?
That's why the NFL gets it and MLB doesn't. You got to have more of an equal playing field so you feel like you at least have a chance, right? I mean, I agree with you 100%. It's completely out of whack.
The biggest sham. Go ahead.
It's crazy too because MLB has some of the worst TV ratings out of any major sport. No one watches it on TV anymore, and it's such a niche thing. Like, no one who is like, NFL. Even if you're not a fan, college football, with the playoff, we were just talking about it, you'll turn these games on NFL playoffs, even when the Lions aren't playing, you're going to watch those games because it is more of an equal playing field. The college football playoff, the excitement and everything, you think SMU has a chance against Penn State. So you're going to watch it. But right, like when you look, I mean, even though it was fun watching the Tigers last year, when you look at their roster top to bottom, it was like, how could we even compete with the Yankees? Like, this is almost ridiculous. We have 2 good players on our team and they're a roster full of all-stars. Like, this is almost not even fair. And it's that old money. It's that old baseball money from the owners. And it's not that the Ilitch family doesn't have money. It's just that they're not willing to spend and go over that, salary cap or whatever. There's not a salary cap, but
that's what it's like. Are these guys, they're so much richer that it just doesn't even, it's like, how rich are they? I know Cohen is a freaking rich bastard, but my God, dude, it just doesn't, it just rubs me the wrong way. And what really is the worst part about it is it's not even like they're like Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. He's getting deferred money. He's making $2 million a year right now. Right. They're rigging the system. Not only are they paying these guys the most, they're rigging the system around paying them so they can pay them on their terms. It's a joke. It's a shit.
Rich guys know how to play the game. We know that.
Yeah, sure. Like, shoot, if I'm the Illiches, Ohtani's, you want $2 million a year, and we'll find some probably illegal way to pay you $70 million a year in 10 years. Like,
we'll give you some franchises.
Do it. We'll do it.
Yeah. Well, baseball isn't the smartest. I will say I had to eat crow a little bit on the pitch clock. Okay. I think they got that one right. And the rant I had about making the bases bigger. Okay. I can live with that too. But this latest one they've come up with, the golden hitter, where you get to, what on earth is that all about?
I don't think it's going to happen. Then I think I don't know, but that's what I mean. It's like they're missing the picture. Right. What are we talking? And we could go on the NBA. I'm not going to, we don't got long enough. But the NBA, it's like, okay, let's switch around the All-Star game. Oh, you guys still aren't happy with our league? Let's switch around the All-Star game again. No, you're missing the big problems here.
Right.
Like, and that's what it feels like with this golden at bat rule. The game of baseball is a fun sport. It's a perfectly fine sport.
Yes, it is.
Let's market it better, and let's maybe figure out the salary cap issue, and then we'll make some serious strides. You're agreed. Yeah. The clock was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pitch clock didn't change the game. It did literally speed things up. You weren't changing the way the game was played. The intentional walk now where you don't have to throw the 4 pitches. Even that one's a little bit like, no big deal. Like the pitcher lobbing 4 pitches in there. Okay, I understand that's 4 pitches that he's throwing, but no big deal. Fine with that one. The ghosty on second and extra innings, that's changing the game. That's changing the outcome of the game. And this one right here would be absolutely ridiculous. Could you imagine? I mean, you throw out Aaron Judge. Anymore. No. Yeah, like Kerry Carpenter, he was on that heater last year. He smokes a home run, comes around. Tell him to go up to that bat one more time. Like, hey, you're feeling it. Go hit again. Boom. Hits another bomb. It's like this is just getting absolutely ridiculous. And I understand they're trying to figure something out. Same with, like you said, the NBA. Yeah, we don't have to get into all that, but the NBA trying to change up the All-Star game to make it more interesting. Basically what it comes down to the players. The players don't care. I mean, they don't want to do these All-Star games. That's why the NFL finally was like, Pro Bowl's done. These players don't want to do the Pro Bowl. It's done.
Yep.
And that's what the NBA has to come to. I don't know if you want to just have one skills event and then move on, but yeah.
And maybe this is a teaser for next week. To me, the NBA, it started off as the All-Star game problem, and in the midst of the last 10 years, where it was an All-Star game problem, now it's like a league problem. It's like, I don't know. You guys are bigger fans than I am. It's hard for me to watch an NBA game right now. I'm watching a lot of college basketball, actually. The WNBA is maybe my favorite sport of them all outside of football. It just seems like we've lost its way. And I always will just say, oh, it's not, it sucks now. How can I solve it? I'm going to put my brain to it, and whenever we record next, I'm going to come up with a solution to improve this league, and we'll see. I'll put my money where my mouth is.
Commissioner Fattel. All right.
Yeah. Well, it's a stars-driven league, obviously. The NBA is huge on that, and the biggest stars are the old guys, LeBron, Steph, Kevin Durant, and unless you're unless you're like
don't even talk.
Right. If you're really a fan, then you appreciate some of the younger stars, but like the casual fans, they don't really care about the Thunder or the Grizzlies or some of these up and coming teams. And so, yeah, I'll be honest. I'm still a big NBA fan, but there's times I'm like, I can't even watch this. They're just coming up. There was a game, I forget who it was now, but there was a game where they had 75 missed threes, a record of, in one game, 75 missed threes in one game. They're coming down. They're just jacking up threes over and over. And while I like it, it's exciting, a lot of scoring, it's kind of tough to watch.
And there's no what happened to rivalry, man? Does anybody hate each other? Like, I know I sound like a 1980s NBA fan, but it's like at some point there's got to be some sort of rift in this league, and not one that plays out on social media after the fact,
right?
Like where you actually feel it. And when Michigan and Ohio State are playing football, you feel it.
Oh yeah,
you don't feel even in playoffs, man. You don't feel nothing. We felt it with the Cavaliers versus the Warriors. We know what it feels like. Not now,
right? It's a mess. It's the world of sports right now. We still watch it, but man, there's a lot of bad stuff happening, without a doubt. One thing
we're watching freaking Bill Dorr, for God's sake. So we're watching Bill Dorr every Sunday now. So
that's
be
right.
ready for that, man. The rest of the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a short break and then be back with the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency right after this. All right, guys, I'll just jump right into it. We are running a little long, but the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency, local, independent, and trusted. In boys basketball recently, we had Ovid Elsie over Durand, 66-44. Tucker Loins had 22 in that one. For the Marauders, big win for them. Owasso picked up their first win of the season in boys basketball, 66-61 over Brandon. That's a league win. Cy Thompson, a young guard, looks pretty good. He had 14 points in that one for the Trojans. And Chesaning, coming off last year's excellent season, down Byron 70-43. Eric Branchick had 16 to lead the Indians in that one. In girls basketball, Ovid Elsie down Durand 60-44. Elenia Carmen had 15 points in that one. Byron over Chesaning 37-19. Caitlin Wendling had 19. Jacqueline Aldrich outscored the Indians by herself, putting up 20 points in that one. And it was Owasso over Brandon in girls basketball, 69-30. Danica Dwyer, she's having a heck of a year, 34 points there for the Lady Trojans. In cross country, the Lansing State Journal just had their all-star teams announced. In Division 1 and 2, Bobby Donnelly out of Corunna and Simon Erforth of Owasso made the all-area cross-country team by the Lansing State Journal. And in Division 3 and 4, Noah Devereaux of Langsburg made the team. Kind of a short and sweet list there for me, guys. But I think, Jared, did you have a topic you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I'll throw it out there real quick. So I've been seeing this on social media, and people, and I even believe Tyler Graham of Michigan Football Frenzy was actually in favor of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically, what I've been seeing is this. It's fairplayoffs.com is the name, fairplayoffs.com. And it's essentially this quote unquote fair play doctrine that they're asking teams to sign. Basically, only 9 schools have signed it thus far.
How many?
Nine teams.
9. Okay.
So it's not. It's not gonna pass, but I'll give my 2 cents on it anyway. So basically, what they're trying to get signed into the MHSAA law is that no private schools or parochial schools are allowed to compete in the MHSAA. Playoffs. Basically, the reasoning they cite, and this is right from the website. Let me read it just to make sure I don't misquote them. Since 2000, 31% of all state titles were won by private schools. That is more than twice as many titles as they should have won statistically, since private schools represent only 14% of MHSAA schools. Okay, great. Are private schools, for the most part, better? Yes. Are they given some sort of otherworldly advantage that the public schools aren't? You guys tell me what I'm missing. When you play football, you need helmet, you need shoulder pads, you need paint to paint the field, you need a sled to slam a couple heads together. What do you need to run a football program? Genuinely, I don't understand what advantages Pontiac Notre Dame Prep is having over Corunna in football.
Right.
Like, we're acting like these private school kids are taking steroids and literally writing I am 12 on their birth certificates when they're 25-year-old grown men.
Right.
what advantages are these guys getting?
Well, I think the
Just leave it right
biggest
there for now.
advantage is it's the flat out recruiting thing. I mean, in public
Right.
schools, yeah, you have school of choice and you got wink, wink, there's recruiting that does go on as well. But at the private schools, it's you can get whatever player you want, can't you?
Yeah, I mean it's the recruiting thing, but like you said, I mean we know that stuff goes on in public schools too. Sometimes if there's a kid in a school district nearby that you want to come on over, you can figure out a way to make that
Right.
happen. I think another thing is, and it's not necessarily the private school's fault, it's just kind of how the system is set up. They might have more money for those resources that you're talking about. They might have nicer facilities. They might have a nicer weight room than, some of the public schools.
Right.
They might have, just nicer, resources, like I said, because they have more money. And, so that could set them up for success a little more than the smaller public schools. But, like, is it their fault? No, that's not their fault. But it does sometimes seem a little unfair when you have a solid, strong public school program with kids that were born and raised right there, coming up through the system, and then they just get run over by a private school because it's a bunch of kids who transferred in and out, and whatever. That kind of sits a little dirty with you, but what are you gonna do?
And I get that, and like I agree. Like if I'm a public school, like dude, that's the first and I'm losing to a private school. It's the first thing I'm saying. Like you guys are a freaking like this is the evil Mika. You guys are a freaking sham. You guys literally pay your squad. You got to have mommy and daddy pay it $2,000 to get you. Like I can see that whole side, and I will support it. But also, what message are we sending? Where schools are actually signing this? Like what? These kids are getting screwed, man. Like these 16, 17-year-old kids, good football players, good basketball players, good student athletes. They just can't compete anymore. I heard one that is a good kind of meet in the middle ground. And I think it would solve some of the problems that I do have with some of the private schools. I got no problem with the private schools that are Division I, Division II, Detroit Division III, Detroit area, pulling from the same pool. But then I think of a team that almost is like taking advantage of it. D7, Jackson Lumen Christie. Basically, you pull one Detroit kid a year, and you got a Maction back, and you can't get touched for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or you got Grand Rapids is my favorite thing. Notice how all the Grand Rapids private schools are D4, D5, D6. They don't dare go to D1. They don't dare. They get their boat raced in D1. So they hover around these lower divisions against Coronas and schools like that, and they pound up on them. So I don't like that either. So my solution would be, why don't we bump all these parochial schools? You're playing up one division, all of them up one division. Lumen Christie, now you're D5, and you're playing against Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. Or actually, Pontiac Notre Dame Prep's now in D4, going against Goodrich, which is another matchup people want to see. Bump everybody up a division. I'd be okay with that.
And I agree with that, Jared. And in fact, I thought at one time that's what they had done. I could be wrong, but I think that was on the books a while back. It must have went away, but that's not a bad solution because I'm definitely not. I'm not voting to kick them out of the MHSAA at all in the tournament, but that's not a bad compromise.
Because then, I mean, what would the other compromise be? That you're going to have basically a private school league and then a public school league, but do you have enough schools to even pull that off? Like, would the private school league basically have like a D1 and D2, and then the public school league is kind of set up the same as it is now? Like that just starts the logistics of that starts to get pretty messy. I feel like, how do you schedule stuff? And so I think the easiest solution would probably be what you're saying, Jared. If we're going to continue with this model, then yes, if you're a public or if you're a private school, you have to go up a division.
And maybe it is currently that rule, but I mean, division in our definition of it is there's 4 divisions. So if you're jumping up from 7 to 6 or 8 to 7, like you're doing nothing. Let's jump you up a couple then at that point. Right. So yeah, again, we're beating a dead horse with that, but to me, one, it's a way overboard to sign this petition. Which, by the way, it's going to water down now the public school titles are worthless. Oh, the top 50 players in the state aren't even competing in this thing anymore. It's like, who wants that? So, again, I don't think anybody's actually going to pass the damn thing. But I just thought it was funny. I was seeing it on my Facebook and Twitter pages. People are pounding the pavement trying to get this passed, man. So just keep your eyes peeled. It might pass down the line.
Interesting topic for sure. I don't know if you guys can see I'm wearing my Yellowstone hat. Real quick here to wrap up the show. No real official entertainment tonight, but the season finale was last night. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. So, Matt, you saw it. Without giving away a spoiler alert, was it a decent finale?
Yeah, so I definitely do not want to spoil it because I know you've watched it from start to finish and you got the hat on, so I definitely do not want to spoil anything. I liked the way that they wrapped it up.
Cool.
There's probably a few things that happen that you can assume was gonna happen, but I like the way. I'm trying not to say anything too much. I like the way they kind of tied some of the storylines off. You know, without feeling like they just shortchanged it, tried to end the show, you know, like, let's just do this. And, you know, it felt like they did things the right way, I guess, with the whole Costner situation and, you know, just kind of everything else going on. But I told you guys this, the one thing I thought this was going to be the last season of Yellowstone and they were going to have their other spinoffs, but they were calling this the season finale, meaning that there's going to be another season coming up. So that's the one thing I wonder is with how they kind of tied this season off, how this current present day Yellowstone, how this show is going to continue. That's one thing I do wonder, but
interesting.
It was like, I think it was like an hour 45 season finale. So, you know, you got to get your popcorn,
you want to sit down. Or are you good with it ending?
I don't know. If they keep Yellowstone going, I'll be curious like what they do
to see what the spin will be.
Right. If the spin looks a little cheesy, I'd probably check it out. But now the 1923, the one with Harrison Ford, that one's coming back. I'm definitely going to be watching that one because
I love that. That's a good one. Real quick too, it's the Christmas holiday season. Amazon Prime has a movie that was in the theaters it's really pretty good. Red One. Have you heard of that with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and it's pretty good. Chris Evans from the superhero movies, Jared. It's definitely a very interesting take on Santa Claus, kind of some superhero special effects type of stuff. It's good.
It's got what's his name? About that. J.J. Jameson, what's his
J.K. Simmons plays Santa, and the name of the movie's Red One. He's called the Red One in it. Just give you a clue there, but it is really, really good. I'd highly recommend it. It's weird, you know. You go to Rotten Tomatoes and the tomato meter, which is the critics, it's like 23%, but the fans on the popcorn meter 90%.
That's every one of the Rock's movies, man. That's everything. So what exactly is the premise?
The premise is The Rock plays Santa's bodyguard. He's been his bodyguard forever, and the witch of the north or whatever gets involved, and so it's a sabotage of Santa Claus going after. They get Santa Claus. Well, I won't really ruin anything, but they capture Santa Claus. The Rock is his bodyguard. So the whole premise is he teams up with Chris Evans, who's kind of this no dear well. He's a weird guy, but he's smart. He's kind of like a con man, and he teams up with the Rock to try and get Santa back. That's kind of the premise. It's pretty well done. I'd give it a watch.
When's the magical train ride?
That's Sunday. That's coming up Sunday. So we have our family get together Saturday, and then Sunday we hop on the Polar Express.
That is cool. That's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully there aren't any college football games scheduled to ruin your day.
No, but no spoiler alerts on Sunday because I will be recording the Bears because I won't be getting back on the train until about 3 o'clock. So Lions and Bears, no spoiler alerts on that.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Time.
I was going to tell you there's a new Dexter, but you guys weren't really tuned into Dexter, were you?
I didn't watch that. I know. No, I never got into that one.
Well, they got a new one. It's called Original Sin, and it's how Dexter became Dexter. And we've just watched the first episode. Really good. All right, let's call it a podcast, everybody. Thanks for the sponsorship by Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Think about a gift card towards membership. You still got time to put that stocking stuffer in. More info can be found at memorialhealthcare.org and on the socials at Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Also want to thank ALS of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and the Shiawassee County Fair. Next Z92.5 game of the week coming up, first of the year, January 6th, a Monday night, Ovid Elsie at Birch Run. So tune into that one. If you want to hear the interview with Casey interviewing Meredith Norris and Noah Jacobs, just check out our last basketball game we put online. And we're going to take a little holiday break. We'll be back right after the first of the year. All the college football playoff games will be heading to the Final Four. We'll see where the Lions shake out, and our fingers are crossed they get healthy, right?
Yeah, hopefully by the time we're back after Christmas and stuff like that, they're still in first place, and Jared Goff still. Hopefully everything's
still the making of like a holiday movie, something you guys would watch on Hallmark. Some kid puts in a wish that the Lions can be healthy for Christmas gift, and next thing you know, Penny Sewell shows up at his door, and they're all healthy.
Hell, we might need to bring Jeff Daniels and Peyton Manning back to the Ford Field and see what they can do and work their magic. Right?
This is like they fixed the curse, but they didn't. Like there was like 99% of the curse got fixed. One thing got screwed up in the potion, and now it's like, oh, we're all injured. Like,
they tried.
Really good.
They tried, but something clearly is going awry right now.
Oh man. Well, anyway, peace and love, everybody. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and we'll chat with you on the other side. So long.